little bit so you guys won't be waiting forever to see the standard asset loaded in our folder. So now it's loaded, and when we can see now, let's go back and select the tool for our terrain, and then I'll choose Paint Texture, and then click on Edit Terrain Layer. And remember earlier, before we import our standard asset, there's nothing in there. But now we have, yay, so much texture we can choose from. So let me pick one that look like a grassy texture. So the green one, I'll choose that one. And after you can select it, you can see it's shown in the terrain layer. Okay, so make sure you can see it's when I painted, nothing happened. It's because I haven't selected yet. So make sure you click on it so you see this very fine blue line underneath it to show we're selecting the texture. So now we can paint on our terrain and give it some color. So it's definitely a first step, make it start looking better. You can add multiple different texture in your scene. So let me choose a different one, like a sandy one, and then same thing, you can scroll down, look for brush size to make it smaller, and I'll also turn the opacity a little bit lower so you can see the two different textures, they will blend a little bit more subtle, so give a little more like dynamic and better look in your scene. Okay, I'll just add a little couple more texture to show you some like things you can do. Like this one looks good, so I'll kind of put here and there. Also make sure you define a new texture, make sure you select it, so otherwise you're probably going to paint your original texture. Okay, so this one look a little more darker and a little more brownish, so I put it will add a little more to our design. Okay, so one more thing I want to share with you is when you see different texture in here, some of those like look a little kind of interesting. They look kind of bluish, kind of like a psychedelic color. This is called Normalmap. So this will add like a bump, kind of like a look like a bump map for a lot of texture. So how to apply it? Usually we will pick one that kind of relevant to the one you're selecting. So for example, like this mud rocky texture has a normal map go along with it. So first of all, select the actual texture with color. Okay, when you select it, you will see under here it has a normal map option that you can define. So let's click on select and then choose the normal map for that texture. Okay, so now on this texture, it has a little when we draw it, it will give it a little bit more details. So you can see, I'll show you the difference a little bit. Okay, actually, let's do it right now. So with the scene view, we couldn't really see how it will look like. Actually, we can kind of see it if I zoom in close enough. Okay, so this is with the bump with the normal map. Okay, you can see it has a little bit more bump. And you can see if I choose this and then remove the normal map with none, it will look a little bit flatter. Okay, actually I think we can view it like this. So with and without. Okay, so you can see the difference. So this is how the normal map work. Okay, so if you choose a texture that has a normal map, feel free to add it here under the normal map. Okay, so it looks good with our terrain, and then next let's create our first person control. Oh, sorry, there's some other tools I haven't mentioned yet. Okay, so it's like planting trees and grass. Okay, so let's do that. Then we will add a camera in the scene so we can see how they look like. So the tool look like two drumstick actually are two trees. So pretty much the same process we define. So right now no trees defined. So we click on Added Trees. We add a tree, and here the tree prefab. We click on this little buttons over here, and then you can choose on the prefab we downloaded earlier from the asset standard asset folder, and we click on OK, add. So now we can have a prefab of a tree. So same thing, we can paint trees in our scene very easily by pretty much just draw on it. Okay, so you can see I can paint trees super quickly and easily like that. And you can choose like I think the tree density probably is a little too high, so it blends too much at once. I'll just make the density a little bit lower. Okay. You can also blend on different trees. I'll add a different one that has a different shape. This one is a little bit taller. Okay. So you can blend like different species of tree in your scene this way. Okay. And you can also like change like different things, like change the color variation if you want to mess around with that. This one is details. Details like flowers, grass will be defined as details. So pretty much the same process. Let's choose edit details and add grass texture. Okay, you can see you can choose like different color for the grass, and let's define our texture for the grass. So these two are also on texture for grass. Okay, I'll choose this one and then hit add. And then same process, I just paint on the place where I want to have grass. So you can see I already paint on it, but nothing happened. So be careful. Try not to like just keep drawing more because you couldn't see it. It's because the details there are like super tiny. So you actually have to zoom in to be able to see it. Okay. So if I zoom in a little bit closer, probably not close enough yet. A little bit closer. Still not see any grass yet. Okay, maybe I actually didn't paint it yet. Okay, let's try again. Detail. Okay, paint the grass. Oh, here we go. We can see it now. So just need to like zoom in a little bit so you can see the grass that way. So if you zoom out, you probably won't be able to see the detail. But there, believe me, there. Okay, so I think the target strength is a little bit too strong. Try not to like paint too much grass in your scene because when you have too much grass, it will kind of take a lot of memory for your scene to load if your grass is too thick. So just put kind of a reasonable amount of the grass in your scene to add some detail, but not like overwhelming your scene. Okay, so I'll do the other texture too. There's a different type of grass. So this one, add. Okay. So let's see if I can make the number even bigger. Okay, it's a little bit bigger. Or okay, I think it has a limitation of the size. Let me make the opacity a bit smaller. So I'll just paint some grass randomly. You couldn't really see it, but they're there. Okay, so I just painted some more new grass on the scene. Okay, so now we have our scene, but we couldn't really see how it looks like. So next step, let me show you how to add a first-person controller so we can actually like walk on our terrain. So to do that, it's really easy after you have the standard asset downloaded in your asset folder. So find the character folder and first-person character folder, and then under prefab. If you download asset from the asset store, always look for prefab. Prefab is for prefabrication. It means the people who like uploaded, they already have all the setting for you. So it's pretty easy to use. All you need is just drag it and then drop it in the scene. Okay, so you can see now we have a different camera, and then you can see it's pointing on the front like that. So if you want to rotate it, make it see a different angle, or you can use the move tool to like move it to like different position of your terrain. You can do it this way. Okay, the FPS controller and the rigid body rigid body FPS controller, they're pretty similar, so you can pick either one that you like. Okay, so now when we hit play, we will be able to see how the terrain look like for the player. Okay, so here we go. We just see the terrain I built and the trees and the grass I planted. So pretty cool. Okay, and pretty easy. Okay, so let's hit uncheck play so we can go back to our work view. And last, let me show you really quickly how to add some water here in the kind of the hole I pre-created earlier. So same thing under standard asset, under environment, you can find like under water. And Water basic, it's like the smaller, the file size is the smallest, but the effect doesn't look that good. I recommend using either water or waterfall. Okay, so water looks pretty good. You can use like same thing, fine for prefab, and then you can drag it in your scene. It's a little too small, not a little, a lot too small. So I'll just use the scale tool to make it a little bit bigger, so it will cover my lake. Okay, see if it's fully covered, kind of. Make it a little bit taller. Okay, let's see how it looks in the scene. Make the camera a little closer to the edge of the water. Okay, so this is the water folder, water Pro daytime. Okay, so cool. We just have some water here. Okay, so if you're using the this type of water for the water Pro daytime, there's actually a setting in the inspector can make it look a little bit more like vivid. The color can look a little bit better. Is under the setting for water mode. Okay, changing it to reflective. Okay, I think that there's some like delay on my computer rendering, so it's showing that kind of weird light blue color. It's just kind of some just the computer loading. Okay, so don't worry about that. So now you can see after I change it to reflective for the water mode, the water will look a little bit like color will be a little bit brighter, and then it will reflect a little bit more on our sky and also the kind of elements surrounding in the environment. Okay, so this is the how to put water in your scene. Just for your reference, I'll also show you guys on the other water, which is the water 4. So this one will take a little bit more memory for Unity to run this prefab, because the water has some like wave animation on it. You can see it already. You can see it has some like kind of wavy texture in the scene. So let me hit play and show you how it look like in the scene. So instead of just like the reflection, like this water 4, it actually has some animation on the water. So it looks pretty good. More kind of like a ocean kind of water instead of like a lake. But be careful when you use like the water 4. You want to try to avoid to like make the water prefab too big, because you can see when you scale it, make it too big that it can handle, your water will look pretty crappy. Okay, so using water 4 is totally cool, but you will have to be careful, like don't scale it too much, so it will like look kind of weird. Okay, so that's a pretty easy tutorial to show you how to build an environment using Unity. And also make sure you have standard asset download in your asset folder, so you have all those kind of material that you can use to build up your terrain. And feel free to download more different assets to make your terrain more unique.